Hello and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be revisiting an idea for an illustration from a couple weeks ago. I am going to be creating this piece traditionally using Prismacolor colored pencils on Bristol Smooth Paper. If you saw last week's video, you know I planned to make this lettering piece digitally, but as I was working on it, I realized I didn't like the direction I was going with it. I have come to realize that the medium I was using and the style of lettering I had before were just way too complex for what I envisioned. Also, the saying "you are enough" is important to me, and the way I was lettering it last week just wasn't doing it justice. So I think drawing this piece traditionally also helps me feel more connected to it, which is something I could use because I have been needing this reminder lately. I'm trying to have all of my colors mostly figured out before I even touch the paper because I really want this idea executed seamlessly. I found that having my colored pencils next to me while I'm choosing colors helps me find the most accurate digital swatch, so there's less of a disconnect between my screen and the physical paper. And for some reason, I have been wanting to use lots of bright colors lately, and the high saturation of this palette I'm choosing is exactly what I am looking for with this illustration. And now I've got my handy dandy easel out and I'm ready to start measuring my letters. I also sketched out my letters using a purple colored pencil, a decision I came to regret later on because the purple is definitely visible underneath the lighter colors, but it's okay because that is part of the charm of traditional drawing. Also, as I'm recording this voiceover, I am dealing with back pain and I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what could have caused it, only to see myself sitting like this, hunched over, and all of my questions are just immediately answered. I believe one of the main reasons I wanted to start over with this piece is because I wanted to prove something to myself. I wanted to prove that I am fully capable of making a work of art using only colored pencils. I have been doubting myself and my abilities as an artist lately. That's sort of why I think I've been gravitating toward digital art, because I do think it's easier to correct mistakes and there isn't a whole lot riding on the composition being sketched out correctly or choosing the right colors, because all of that can easily be corrected when working in a digital art program like Procreate or Photoshop. When you work with traditional mediums, there isn't an undo button. So, for example, with this drawing you see me working on, I had to sketch it out twice because the first time the word enough was off-center from the other words, so the final thing would have come out all wonky, but that would have been an easy fix if I did this on my iPad. I debated for a quick second to make the switch to digital, but I persevered, got a new piece of paper instead, and made sure my measurements were more accurate this time, and then they were. You'll see later on that I used the paper I messed up on as a page for swatches, and I will continue to do that going forward. Now, going back to my original point, I think finding confidence as an artist comes down to learning how to appreciate your own abilities and qualities. To me, an artist's confidence lies in knowing that what you bring to the table is enough, and in turn using that confidence to love and accept yourself and your art for what it is. I had to remind myself that I used to work with colored pencils all the time, almost exclusively, so I knew I had the ability to do it. I just had to get over the voice in my head telling me I couldn't. Confidence is letting go of the constant comparison to others and the negative self-talk, and instead trusting yourself enough to know that you have made something good. I feel like just by making this illustration right here, I already have washed away so much of the self-doubt that I was feeling, and I've managed to get myself out of the comparison cycle that I was going through. I needed to regain my confidence in myself and my abilities just by doing. I think that's really all it takes sometimes, the resiliency to keep going. I am pleased to say that after working on this illustration, I am no longer hesitant to use this medium that I once loved. And I do want to learn how to love colored pencils again, and I think making this piece has restored a lot of my confidence in myself and my abilities. I think it's important for really anyone to realize that self-doubt is an obstacle that so many artists face, but it doesn't have to consume you. I did hold off on revisiting this piece because I was doubting myself and thinking it wouldn't turn out how I wanted it, or it just wouldn't be good enough. I think it's important to take the time you need to step away from whatever it is that's causing the self-doubt, whether that's working with a specific medium or drawing altogether. Take an hour, a day, or even a week to be with yourself and then come back to it. Because yes, it's important to acknowledge your self-doubt and try to figure out why it's there, but I think it's even more important to actively try to replace those doubts with positive actions that will ultimately steer you in the right direction. I knew I could control how polished my finished sketch would be, or how accurate my colors were in comparison to the idea in my head. And I tried to focus on what I could realistically succeed at. I'm taking my time blocking in the color for each letter and object, making sure I'm not pressing too hard or moving outside my guidelines. When those feelings of self-doubt come up, I think the best thing you can do is continue on and persevere. Keep showing up for yourself and keep working on improving, and eventually you will gain more confidence in your abilities because you're now doing the thing you lack confidence in. It's a weird cycle. I've found myself at this point in my career before, but for some reason, my feelings of inadequacy have been more prevalent than ever. So this piece can now serve as a reminder to not only myself, but also you. You are good enough. You are strong enough. You are brave enough. You are enough, exactly as you are. I'm not sure if I'm even talking to myself or to you at this point, but regardless, I think the message is clear. I wanted to bring in some sort of a gradient into this drawing, but I knew I didn't want the entire thing to be styled that way, because I think that would be a bit overwhelming. I think the subtlety of the clouds makes for a visually interesting break from the rest of the flat colors you see throughout. I definitely took my time making this piece, and it was actually so therapeutic for me to do that. So much of the time I find myself wanting to rush into the next thing in life because my attention span is a lot shorter these days. But making art really does allow me to take a step back and go at my own pace. I also think I'm a lot more confident in my work when I do take my time to go through all the steps, like the sketching and the color comps and the refined sketch. It just helps me feel that much more assured in myself and what I'm doing. Earlier on, I said I wanted to prove to myself that I could make traditional art again, and I do believe I accomplished that. I wanted to do this piece justice because it's been something I have needed to be reminded of. I think doubting yourself and your abilities as an artist is normal, and I would think just about everyone goes through that every now and again, but I really do believe it depends on how you handle the situation. I knew the best decision for me was to take some time away from this piece and almost hype myself up to do it over the course of a week. I had to fully trust myself and my abilities and believe that I was capable of completing it. Now I know this isn't anything complex, but I want to start with something relatively simple and succeed at that before really gaining the confidence and jumping in to do a larger, more intricate illustration down the line. And I will be going forward and making more complex pieces because I was able to take this step and believe that I could make something that was quote-unquote good enough. I will be framing this illustration and hanging it up in my room to always remind myself that I am enough. I am confident enough, I am good enough, I am enough exactly where I'm at. This video got a bit deep, and I hope you enjoyed it because I really enjoyed making it and showing this, more vulnerable side to myself. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!